Guys, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing. I appreciate you taking the time to join me today. I am here for you, and I'm here to answer all the questions that you guys have from a marketing perspective. So just a couple of housekeeping rules here real quick. I have muted everybody. Just what you can do is post your questions in chat. Janet, I have your questions. I'll make sure those get answered. Everyone's been muted just to keep things quiet. Yet since we are being recorded, if you don't want to be on video, just not a big deal. Just shut your video down. No issues there. Just get those questions in chat. I've got a few that I already got that I will answer. So as you guys have more, just pop them in chat and I will get to those, and I will do my best to get through every single one of those in the next hour that we have today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point, and I'm just going to get into some of these questions. So first question that came in was from Aditya, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And the question was, small businesses who cannot afford web developers and create their websites in Wix, will you have any disadvantages when it comes to SEO? And do we need to make anything different when marketing content? So first off, from a website development standpoint, there are a lot of different platforms out there: Wix, Squarespace, Weebly, GoDaddy is another one. They all make it very easy to put a website together. From an SEO standpoint, the capabilities you have to optimize each of those platforms is going to vary a bit. Some are better than others. WordPress is what we build on for websites. WordPress you can optimize to the ends of the earth. Duda is another platform that we build on, D-U-D-A. And we can optimize Duda really well, better than most of the other platforms that I just mentioned. But with Wix specifically, you can certainly optimize it. You will run into some limitations. It's not nearly as flexible as a WordPress or a Duda, but you can still do quite a bit to optimize your site and take care of some basic on-page SEO there. Do you need to do anything different when marketing your content? We're gonna have to dig into that a little bit. And it doesn't looks like he popped off. So we'll come back to that when he pops back on. So Janet, the other questions, I have several questions from you. So we'll jump into those right now. So the first one that you had was about your company moving locations, and you're having trouble changing the address on Google. And I'm assuming what you're talking about there is your Google My Business page. You've tried multiple times to verify the change through postcard or phone, which are two of the ways that Google will verify listings. It's a little odd for them to verify when you're updating just your address. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. Here's what I would recommend you do. I would recommend you try to reach out to Google support on this one, because it doesn't seem like the information that you have in there is getting through properly for you to actually be able to confirm it. So I'm gonna share my screen, and then I'll share this in chat with you. But there is a Google My Business support center here. You can post questions to the community. I would recommend you do both. Post a question to the community, because sometimes Google will respond to those. The other thing you can also do is right down here. So there's ask for help with the community. There's also contact us. I would recommend that you run through that and go that route, because Google's, for some reason, something's going on there. They're asking for you to verify. And the only way that you're going to be able to get through this is if you actually get a hold of somebody at Google directly. So I would recommend you go this route. And I'm going to put this in chat so that you don't have to search for it. And I would recommend you start there. If you continue to have some issues, then reach out to me directly, and I'll see if I can't point you in the right direction on that. But that's where I would start with that. Second question Janet had was, is it worth boosting posts on Facebook, and paying the $10 per post to boost it? I think that it can be. You need to test it. Okay. And I think you want to strategically boost posts. So I wouldn't just arbitrarily boost every post. Um, I think there are a few things you can do here. So if you've posted things and you're getting some pretty decent engagement or more engagement, so people are either liking it, they're commenting, they're sharing, that's engagement. If you're getting higher engagement on a specific post and you want to test what happens with the boost those posts, because those are certainly going to have a much higher likelihood that people are going to interact with it when you boost. The other thing that I would recommend you do if you're going to boost post is have a clear call to action somewhere in that post. Because unless you tell people what you want them to do specifically, odds are they're probably not going to do anything. So if you want them to, hey, if you liked this content, and you want to get more, schedule a free consult or sign up to our email list here, that type of stuff. You want to tell them what you want them to do to encourage them to take that action. So if you're going to boost posts, I would test it by boosting posts that you already know have had decent engagement with your current audience, and make sure that you have a clear call to action in that post. So other than that, I would test it. Here's the downside to boosting posts. With a boost, Facebook has made it really easy. And if you can think about how many millions of people are just paying $10 to boost a post, you can see how much money it generates for them, because it's really easy for people to do. But the downside is you can't target people with a boost. So like you can if you took that same post and went into the Facebook ads manager and created an ad, you could target people much better. With a boost, you're just boosting it, and Facebook is going to run it through the algorithm and boost it to the people that they think are going to be best for that particular post, based on who's already following your company, based on the type of post, that type of thing. So there really is no settings there. You're just boosting the post. So it's easy. If you want to try it, test it, and use those two things that I just recommended to test it. Last question from Janet is, what is the most effective way to ask people to like your Facebook page, or any social for that matter, to follow you on social? I think that there are a few ways to do this. And by the way, let me preface this by saying social media can be a great place to attract people, to build brand recognition for your company. But the thing that is important to keep in mind is all social media channels are channels that you are renting. You do not own them or control them. So as we saw earlier this year, former President Trump, he got his Twitter account shut down. So if these social media companies don't have a problem shutting down the President of the United States, they certainly are not going to have a problem shutting anybody else down. So you need to keep that in mind. I think building a following over time on social is certainly not a bad thing, but I think you always want to have the goal of getting anybody that is following you on social. You want to encourage them to jump onto your email list, because your email list is something that you own. Nobody can take that away from you. So even if your email list is on MailChimp or Constant Contact or ActiveCampaign, even if that platform shut you down, you still own that list. You can take your list and import it into another email marketing provider and start right back up again. Okay. So I think the goal for any channel that you are renting, that you do not own, is to get those people over to channels that you own, which You own your website, you own your email list. Those are two of the biggest ones. So keep that in mind. But encouraging people to follow and like you on social, I think there are multiple ways you can do that. And by the way, that's another call to action that you could have when you boost posts, right? So the call to action in that boosted post could be, do you like this content? Want to get more of it? Follow us on Facebook or whatever it is. Okay, so that's one way that you could start to do that, is boost post and try to get people to follow you on social. The other thing, you can run like campaigns on Facebook as well, from a paid ad standpoint too. The other thing that I see people do commonly all the time, well, one, you've got to make sure that your social links are prevalent on your website, either at the top, in the header. I see them in the top in the header, and or in the bottom in the footer. I would recommend at the bare minimum you put it in the footer of your website so that it's on every page. If it makes sense from a design standpoint and you want to put it up in the header, then put it up there. I can't tell you how many websites I've seen where people have social media and their social links are nowhere to be found on their website. Make sure you put it on your website. You could put your social links in your email signatures as well. So everybody in your company, could have that in the bottom. Hey, follow us on social, and all the links are right there that take them there. And then in your other communications, you can certainly encourage people and just ask. People ask all the time. I see people do it. Hey, please follow us on social. Or do you like this content? You want to get more of it? Follow us on social, and your links are there. I think that you just need to be consistent about it. Here's the other thing, and this takes a little bit more work, but it's social media. If you want people to follow you, you've got to get active and you have to engage with other people. So when you're creating posts, if you're sharing something from somebody else, tag them or mention them in the post. That's a really easy way to start to get, at least one or two engagements on a post. Comment on other people's stuff. The more you comment on other people's posts, or you comment in groups that you're active in, if you're adding value, you're serving people, if they continue to see your presence there and they like what you have to say, they're naturally going to start to migrate over and go, oh, well, what are they doing? They're offering tons of value when they comment in here. Let me go see what they're posting on social. Okay, that's a very gentle way of getting people to start following you and liking what you're doing on social media. Certainly, you're going to have to be consistent as well, right? People aren't going to follow you on social if you're not posting consistently and you're not posting good content. Okay, so those are a few recommendations. I hope that helps. If you've got other questions, Janet, just pop them in chat. And anybody else, if you've got questions, pop them in chat and I'm happy to answer them. Don't be bashful. If you have a question, my guess is somebody else has the exact same question. Or if they don't have it right now, they will. Aditya, I'm going to, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I started touching base on your question and then realized you had dropped out. So from a web development standpoint, Wix, you can certainly optimize. You can't optimize it as much as you can, say, WordPress, but Wix, Squarespace, all the platforms similar to that are an easy way to get your website up without being a designer, without spending a lot of money up front. And so if you are in that position, I would certainly encourage you to do that rather than not have a website. The other question you asked was, do you need to make anything different when marketing your content? Do me a favor, if you can pop in chat, just expand upon that a little bit more, because I'm not exactly clear what you're asking there. So pop that in chat and I'll get to that question as well. And like I said, if anybody else has questions, please pop them in chat. Yeah, okay, so Aditya's working on that. And while I'm waiting for you guys to pop in chat, here's what I'll just wrap about social media for a minute. So the way I look at social media is you really want to use social to attract people to what you do and then drive people to consume your content somewhere else on a channel that you own. Your email marketing, your website, right, which is your blog, or you may have a podcast, you may have a YouTube channel, by the way, you don't own. But you're really attracting people with your social posts. You certainly are building brand awareness. And in the beginning, when you're just starting out and you don't have any followers, that's really all you're doing is the way I look at it is you're laying ground cover. So when somebody goes to your website, which is probably one of the first places they're going to go, do they like what they see? Do they like what you have to say? Are you encouraging them to continue to dig deeper? They see your social links, right? Which goes back to the importance of having your social media links on your website. Because if they like what they see on your website, they're probably going to check out what you're doing on social. Well, in the beginning, you may not have a lot of followers, but if they click on your Facebook page and they go there and the last post you had was 8 months ago, does that build credibility and trust in your brand? Probably not. It leaves them wondering, and you don't want that. So in the beginning, you just want to show consistency. You certainly want to be posting content that is of value and serving your audience, but you just want to show consistency there while you're building up your follower base, which it takes time. This is not going to happen overnight. Unless you already have a following somewhere else, odds are you're not going to start on social media and have 10,000 followers in the next month. It's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. So that's how I look at it. Create valuable content, post it on social, and encourage people. Have calls to action in there that drive people to your website. Encourage people to sign up for your email list. And then you can continue that conversation so that they start to consume what you do, right? A lot of people talk about the second step after attracting people is converting. I really don't think from a service business standpoint, which we work with a lot of service-based businesses, coaches, consultants, professional service providers, home service companies. You can't necessarily force somebody to convert. You want people to consume your content and engage with you so that when they're ready to take that next step and work with somebody like you, that they think of you first. Super, super important. So your content, and the other thing too with content, if you're not creating content right now, blogs, podcast, videos, right? And you don't have to do all of these, okay? But it is so important to be creating some type of content, especially from a service business standpoint, because it helps people find you. It helps you establish authority and credibility. It engages your audience. It serves them, which is really, really important. People are not going to do business with you until they know, like, and trust you. And that's exactly what content helps you do. But the other thing that content helps you do is it drives what you post on social media. Because a lot of people talk about, well, what do I post on social media? Well, if you're not creating content, the only thing you can really post is other people's content and resharing. And that certainly adds value, but it doesn't necessarily add a ton of credibility for you. So I think it's really important to have a content strategy. And I would recommend you choose a channel that resonates with you, that you enjoy. So if you love to write, well, then start blogging. If you love to talk, you can have a podcast. Or if you don't mind being on video, right? You can talk, you've got audio, you've got video there. The great thing about video, I'm really partial to video because it can be repurposed into so many other forms of content. But if you're not comfortable on camera and you don't feel like you can get there, then you got to choose something different, because if you don't like it, you're not going to do it consistently. your passion for what you do is not going to come across as you create the content. So it's really important to find a content medium that really resonates with you and just jump in with that. Okay, so got a question from Jason. Do you have any advice or suggestions for LinkedIn and cold call messages? Yep, I'm trying to reach out to prospective new clients via LinkedIn and haven't got many responses back. Do I need to follow up with more messages? How many follow-ups are too many? Yep, so I'll give you my opinion, take it for what it's worth. There are so many different LinkedIn lead gen services out there now that make it sound like, all you need to do is just reach out to a bunch of people and income the leads and you're in good shape. Here's what I would think about. If you are very active on LinkedIn, I'm sure you are no different than me. I get a number of connection requests each week. I'm pretty open on LinkedIn. And the way I view it is I connect with anybody as long as it looks like they have a legit profile. I connect because anybody I connect with, that then expands my second and third tier connections. So it just expands my reach on LinkedIn. So it expands the reach potential on LinkedIn. But inevitably, I connect with those people and I immediately start getting bombarded with sales messages. These people know nothing about me. They know that, they know that I'm in marketing, right? And I have a marketing consulting company, but other than that, they don't know anything. They haven't talked to me. They really haven't done a lot of research. They just start immediately pitching. I don't think anybody likes that. So, when people do that, they are really spraying and praying. So they're just hoping that they're going to connect with somebody that has that immediate problem that they can solve right now. And if the pain is great enough, people will respond to that. I'm just not sure that it's the way you necessarily want your brand portrayed. If it is, that's okay. I'm not saying that's wrong, because it does work. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it. But it's kind of like, think about it like networking. If you went to a networking event and you introduced yourself to somebody, and then you immediately went into a sales pitch, what would you think of that? You would probably be a little turned off. So my recommendation is not to approach LinkedIn that way. I would take more of a sniper approach, very targeted. And that's not to say that you can't target connections and do, mass outreach. You can. I just don't think you can target as well. So one of the ways I approach LinkedIn is I approach it more from a place of service. So the message that I'm currently using initially to connect with people that seems to be working fairly well is, more, I'm reaching out to coaches and consultants specifically. And so, I just say in the message, hey, I'd love to connect and get to know other coaches and consultants. If you have something that you're looking to promote right now, please let me know. I'd be happy to do what I can to help. It's a message in that vein. And so I'm just telling them I'd love to connect. And if there's something that they want to promote, let me know. I'm happy to try and help you. People appreciate that. Do a lot of people take advantage of that? No, but I've probably had in the last couple months, 4 or 5 people that, connected and said, hey, yeah, I've got, a workshop coming up I'd like to promote. And I'll just post it on my LinkedIn profile as a status update and mention them in it. So, and I'm getting on my outreach, the last campaign that I ran, I had somewhere in that 27 to 30% acceptance rate on connection requests, which For a marketer, that's not bad because people are getting bombarded from marketers. So I think anywhere in that 25 to 30% range for a connection acceptance is pretty strong. You certainly can follow up. I follow up with one message. And again, this is a very laid back approach to this, but I'm taking more of a long-term approach. When they accept my connection request, I'm actually sending them a message that just says, "Hey, thanks for accepting my connection, Jason." And then what's the next part of it? So, oh yeah, so I'm making fun of people just bombarding with follow up messages. So I just go, "Hey, I'm not gonna bombard you with a bunch of follow up messages, but when I connect with people, I like to help if and when I can. If I can be a resource for you in my area of expertise, which is marketing, or connect you with people in my network, don't hesitate to reach out." That's it. And then the way I view it is I'm very active on posting and commenting on LinkedIn. And if my stuff starts to show up in their feed consistently, they've got a need, then they may reach out. Okay. So that's my approach. It is not salesy at all. But there are other ways that I think you can, if you want to be more direct, I think you can connect. And then when you have follow-up messages, I would probably recommend you not automate, get hyper targeted, and just follow up with a message and tell people why you're reaching out. "Hey, uh, I thought it might be good for us to jump on the phone because of X, Y, and Z." Be very upfront about why you're at, ask them questions to get to know them better, but let them know why you're asking those questions. Be direct, because if you don't tell them that and you just start asking questions in that follow up, people are always wondering, like, what's the angle here? Why does he want to do this? I think if you ask questions to show interest, but let them know why you're doing it, people will respect that. And if it's a good fit for them, they'll let you know. But if you're active about it, it will work. There's no doubt about it. LinkedIn is a great place to connect with people. You can get very targeted. But it's still one of the few social media channels where you have pretty decent organic reach. So your posts show up naturally without having to pay much better on LinkedIn than a lot of other platforms. So it's a very strong platform for the business to business space. I think it's a must-have place to be. So I hope that helps, Jason. If you've got other questions or follow-up questions, just post them in chat and we can start jumping on that. Yeah, okay. So I see your comment here. Yeah, you don't want to be viewed as the door-to-door salesman. Yeah, I totally agree. At least for my business, that's not how I want to be viewed. Yeah, so you want to realize what services and value you provide, and it may be value. Yeah, so yeah, I would just come from a place of service and ask questions to help to get to know them better. If they could potentially be good referral partners, in that follow-up message, it could just be, "Hey, what types of clients do you typically work with?" The reason I ask is, we might be good referral partners if we're serving similar markets. Very simple question. If they respond, great. If they don't, well, then they're probably not interested, right? And you can just move on. But I would take a targeted approach and be methodical and consistent about it. Okay, so Aditya is asking, I came across a few website designers who mentioned that websites designed in WordPress would be on the first page, and websites designed in Wix and Squarespace will be on the 10th or 11th page due to limited SEO functions. Is this true? And in such case, how different marketing slash SEO strategies should be for a website designed in Wix or Squarespace? So one, I think that was somewhat self-serving for them to say, because there are websites built on every platform that rank. Okay, so you can't just say that across the board. There are so many different elements that play into SEO and whether you're going to rank or not. You can't say that across the board. That's just not true. So can you optimize WordPress more than a Wix or a Squarespace? Yes, you can. Can you optimize Wix and Squarespace and other platforms like it? Yes, you can. You just don't have all the capabilities that you do with WordPress. If you're just starting out, look, I would not worry about this. If you're just starting out, SEO is a long-term play. Okay. You are not going to SEO optimize your website and all of a sudden rank in Google. At least unless it's a totally new niche and the keywords that you're trying to rank for are very low volume and very low competition, you are not going to rank by just SEO optimizing your on page for your website. So I wouldn't get too awfully concerned about it. If Wix or a Squarespace makes more sense for you right now based on where you're at and the budget that you have, then that's what I would do, because you're far better off having a website up than you are not. And frankly, I think what's even more important than SEO optimizing your website right now is when you initially get your website up, you need to make sure that you've got the key content elements that you need to have to convert visitors to customers. I would focus more on that in the beginning than I would SEO optimizing and making sure, hey, is this tip top shape? Because it's just, I think you have more things, better things to be focused on and concerned about at this point. Can you SEO optimize? Yeah, do the basics and then start moving on from there. But content plays a huge role in SEO. So you can do on-page optimization, but if you then stop and you're not creating content, you're not doing some of these other things, like if you're a local business, reviews, Google My Business play a huge factor in ranking, directory and citation listings, links from other websites back to your website have a huge impact in SEO. So on-page SEO optimization for your website is just one part of a larger SEO puzzle. So I hope that helps, but just because you're on Wix or Squarespace does not mean you're not going to rank. That's just absolutely not true. So if you've got follow-up questions on that, let me know. Just post them in chat. Okay. While I'm waiting, I am going to pull up one other thing here. Just bear with me, guys. There is a link that I am going to share with you. Yep. Okay. I'm going to post this in chat, guys. This is a link to some free resources. Okay. You don't have to opt in. This just takes you right to a Google Drive folder. And I am going to share my screen so you can see this. There's a ton of stuff in here. One of the things that we really focus on from a marketing standpoint is the fundamentals, because the fundamentals lay the foundation for you to build the rest of your marketing house from. So your fundamentals are, do you understand your target market? Do you have clear and engaging messaging? And then do you have a plan? So there's some resources here to help you with those fundamentals. But one of the other things on here that I just mentioned is a website, must-have website homepage elements PDF. So I would highly recommend you look at this to compare it. If you put these elements in on your homepage, I guarantee you your website will be better than 9 out of 10 of your competitors. Frankly, I think if you probably pulled up 5 of your competitors' websites, eliminated their logos, you would probably have no idea who the hell they are. So their messaging is not clear. It doesn't, communicate their value and who they are as a company, which is super, super important. So if you go to this link, take advantage of this resource. This just goes through those different, what we view as some of the must-have homepage elements. And frankly, you can take these same elements and migrate them over to product pages, service pages, about pages, that kind of stuff. So yes, it's meant for your homepage, but you can then adapt some of these content elements to the other pages on your site, to make sure that you're communicating a really good message and that you have a really strong customer journey on your website, so that it gets people who land on your website to read more, to learn more about you, and then take the action that you want them to take. So that's one of the resources on that link that I wanted to point out to you. So please take advantage of those resources. The other thing that I also have on there, I will upload this recording, but I have past recordings on there as well. So there's a ton of resources in there that you may find helpful as you dig into things with your marketing. Okay. What other questions do you guys have? There's got to be a few. I'll wait just a sec. And I mean, anything's fair game here, guys. So don't be bashful. I'm here for the hour, so I want to make sure I help and serve you as best I can. What types of businesses are you guys in? If you post that in chat, I might be able to help you as well. Okay, cool. Jason's got a question here. In terms of creating / posting content, yep, always leery that I don't have it perfect. Should I focus more on quantity versus quality? Yep. Okay. Architecture. Yep. Specialized niche for, yep, refineries. Okay. Wow. That's hyper niched. So, and that actually, honestly, is another reason why I think LinkedIn could be really strong for you, because you are really niched. So you can hone in on the exact decision makers that you need to talk to. And you can create content that that helps address the needs that they have. So in terms of creating and posting content, one, don't worry about being perfect, okay? Because nobody's perfect. There are people that talk about, oh, what time should you post, and or what days should you post to really optimize. Well, if you're just getting going, that's just noise. Okay, because the bottom line is people are going to see this stuff. So it's hold on one sec. Sorry about that. So I wouldn't be worried about the perfect time to post and even the perfect content, okay? Because it's as you get better and better and more comfortable with it, you'll continue to improve, but nobody's perfect. So I would tell you, I think you're better off posting better quality content over just quantity. Because if it's not really good content, it's not really going to help people. It's not going to engage people. I would focus more on quality over quantity. Now, having said that, creating content doesn't have to be difficult. So one of the easiest places I recommend people start is just answer the questions that your prospects and customers typically have. Are you getting questions in your email inbox consistently? Or what questions do you see posted in forums or groups as it relates to what you do? So take those questions and just start answering them. And that's another reason why I love video, because it's quick. You could just, you could take out your smartphone and just say, hey, It's Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing. Here's a question that came in from Jason a couple of days ago, and he was actually talking about how to creating and posting content. What's the best way to do that? Should I focus on quantity versus quality? Well, here's my opinion. Go into it, and then at the end, you can just have a call to action. Hey, if you like this content, you want to get more of it, or you have specific roadblocks as it relates to this, schedule a consult. Here's the link. Boom, done. You have a 2-3 minute, maybe a 4 or 5 minute video. You're done. You can upload it to social, and that's it. So it doesn't have to be long. But if you answer questions that you commonly get as it relates to what you do, you are going to add value to people that are in your audience consistently. And then guess what? That content that video that you just created fuels a lot of your other marketing channels. It fuels your social. It can fuel your email marketing, right? Because you can create a post specifically about that and put a link to the video. You can transcribe that video and create a blog post and embed the video, right? Then you have video and you have written content. The thing I love about using written content that's been transcribed from a video is Google can actually crawl that from an SEO standpoint. Google can't really understand what's in a video. But if you take the words that are communicated in that video and put it in a blog post in written form, Google can crawl that and understand it. So there's a lot of things you can do with video that are super, super helpful. Cool. Awesome. If you've got any other follow-up questions on that, Jason, please let me know. Yep. So one of the other things I would recommend that you also look at too, Jason, is since you are focusing on refineries, think about from a referral partner standpoint, if you haven't already, who are the other people that are calling on these refineries that have relationships with the people that you need to talk to? Starting to build relationships with those people could bear a lot of fruit. Okay, so Aditya has another question. Yeah, me and my friends are planning to start a market research services firm that offers a new market entry strategy, competitive analysis, market size and forecasting, industry analysis, company analysis, feasibility study. Any tips to get started? To me, just at a cursory glance, this is, certainly existing businesses that are getting into into new markets could be of value for you, but also people in the startup space, I think, are naturals for this, provided they have money. So I think from a targeting standpoint, it is going to be much easier for you to find startups than it is for you to find businesses that are expanding into new markets and they need market research, because you can't really target people like that. But startups, man, there's all kinds of startup groups, forums, there's influencers that focus on startups, there's venture capital and private equity companies that invest in startups, so talking to those people, there's a lot of different ways that you could approach that, but the startup space seems to be a natural there. We're planning for startup and entrepreneurs. Yep. So to me, that's the logical place to start. If you can, what I would recommend you do is have some conversations with startup founders, so maybe you join some startup groups to try and just ask them, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing, and just getting their feedback. What were if they're past that phase where they did this research, you can ask them about, what problems did they have? How did they solve that problem? They could really help you with your positioning and frankly, how you should communicate um, with that market to really resonate with them. So if you can, I would try to have 5 to 10 conversations with people in that space to get their feedback. And then you can take that feedback and use that to start working on your messaging and your your offerings and how you're going to position it. So that's definitely how I would start. Um, and then from a content perspective, well, you can just start creating content about, you know, why startups need to invest in market research, how to do competitive analysis for startups. Um, if you're looking at different market sizes and forecasting, what should you look for? What must-haves need to be in markets? There's just no shortage of content that you can start to create. And as you start to create that and engage with people in that space, you're going to build credibility. And if they like the content that you're putting out, they're going to say, oh my gosh, these guys know what they're doing. We can't do this ourselves. Let's hire them to help us. So um, that's where I'd start. So once it sounds like you're kind of honing in on the target market, then you need to create clear, engaging messaging to that market. The If you talk to them and do some initial interviews, they'll help with that. And then from there, from a planning standpoint, your website, you got to get up and you got to make sure that it's good and has good, clear calls to actions. I would make sure that you have a plan for what you're going to do from an email standpoint, because your email list, just start building it. It's going to take some time, but your email list will be a huge asset for you over time. And then I'd start to identify the groups, the influencers, the people that I need to connect with in that startup space, startup entrepreneur space, start working those relationships. And I would start creating content that's going to serve that market. Those are some of the things that I would start and look at. Okay, so Jason's got another question here. Any advice on how to stay motivated? Yeah, with marketing efforts. Yep. So far, it seems like a lot of wasted effort without any returns. Do I need to be more realistic about time for returns? Be patient. Yeah. So this is a really good question. So marketing is like a flywheel. It's not like a switch. You can't turn it on and off. You have to feed the flywheel so that it starts to gain momentum. Keep feeding it. And once it gains momentum, as long as you keep feeding it, then it will work, right? It will feed you. But if you stop and let the flywheel slow down, it's going to take you that much longer to get the flywheel back up and going again. So yes, I think you need to be realistic and you need to take a long-term approach with it, because is there low-hanging fruit that you can use from a marketing perspective to get leads quickly out of the gate? Yes, I think there are. But so much of marketing takes time, and it's not going to happen overnight. And if you don't have that viewpoint, that I'm going to take a long-term viewpoint rather than a short-term viewpoint, because if you take a short-term viewpoint, you're going to make decisions that may seem like they're beneficial in the short term, but they may not benefit you in the long term. And frankly, you may do some things that make you feel, like, oh my gosh, I'm desperate. I've got to do this. And I just don't think that's a good place to make business decisions from. So yes, I think you need to take a long-term view. Like content, man, content, 12 months minimum. You may start to attract people, but it's not going to generate a flood of leads immediately. But content just keeps building and building and building upon itself. And when you start to reach that point of critical mass, it's just going to keep feeding your business. So it's really important to take a long-term viewpoint. What's some of the low-hanging fruit? if you have contacts within your network, that's a great place to start. Let them know what you're doing and ask them, hey, are there any, this is what I'm doing. Are there any people that that I should speak to? That's the fastest way to start. It absolutely is, because referral partner relationships, strategic partner relationships, those take time, right? People aren't, until they get to know you, they're not just going to immediately start handing over the keys and sending a bunch of referrals. So those relationships are going to take time. The other thing that can be quick is paid advertising. But initially, when you're getting started, a lot of people don't have the money to put into paid ads. And paid ads can also be a place where people flush a lot of money down the toilet if they don't know what they're doing and they don't have a good plan in place. You can just spend money and not get a lot of conversions. So I think you need to be careful going into paid ads. If it was me, I would focus on reaching out to people in my network, and I would reach out to people, in your case specifically, since you're really niched, I would use LinkedIn to start connecting with potential. You could certainly use LinkedIn to connect with potential clients, but you could also use LinkedIn to connect with potential referral partners that are in the refinery space. That's where I would use LinkedIn to be really targeted. But the thing you got to keep in mind is when you start to do that outreach, this is why target market and messaging are so important. Target market is telling you exactly where you need to be to get in front of your ideal clients, which is really important. But then your messaging is what the heck you're going to say. How are you going to communicate to people what you do, what your value is, what problem you solve, and what benefits people realize when they work with you? That's why your messaging is so important, because if you just reach out to people and you don't know what to say, it's not that it's not going to work. It may work, but it just may not work as well or as effective as it could. So that's why your messaging is so important. But low hanging fruit, that's where I would start if I were you, Jason. But you obviously need to have that website up with good messaging and some of those content blocks in that document that I mentioned to you, because when you reach out to potential referral partners on LinkedIn, or potential people in your network on LinkedIn, they may end up going back to your website to learn more. And you want to make sure that the impression they have when they go there is a good one. So let me know if you have any follow-up questions on that one. We got about 7 minutes left. So if you guys have any other questions, I am happy to answer them. If you don't, I'm going to share my screen one more time while I'm waiting for any last minute questions here. So guys, please take advantage of the resources at that link. It'll go right here. The other thing I would tell you, there's no pressure from me at all, but if you guys are struggling with other marketing roadblocks, or you start to get into some of this stuff and you're still struggling, you need more clarity on where to focus your efforts, feel free to schedule a free consult with me. I'd be happy to talk to you and give you some clarity in that call. Again, there is no pressure from me, but if you want to take advantage of that, I'm going to put that link in chat. You can also see that link right on the homepage of our website at rialtomarketing.com, and then just click the get a free consult button. So if that's something that would be of value for you, feel free to take advantage of it. If you're not there, not a problem at all. Okay, let me see if I've got any other questions here. Okay. I don't have anything else in the chat at this point. Okay, one more from Aditya. Any advice on building an effective sales pitch? Goes back to your messaging. So in that link, one of the things that is in there is a brand playbook template and a brand playbook introduction. We use a storytelling framework to create messaging. And when you do that, what you're doing is you are positioning your company as the guide in the story and your customer as the hero. The hero in every story has a problem that they don't know how to solve. and they run into a guide that knows exactly what they need to do. That's why you want to position yourself as the guide. Um, the other thing that I would also tell you is one, use storytelling framework to create that messaging, and then you can use that in your sales process. The other thing that's in that framework, part of that framework is an agreement plan, and an agreement plan is about alleviating fears that people may have in doing business with you. And so you can use those statements in your agreement plan in part of your sales pitch as well. The other thing I would recommend you do, because you guys are offering a service, I think you want to have a proven process. So you want to let people know, hey, this is the process that we follow to get results for your business. And here's why. So if you go to the homepage of our website at rialtomarketing.com, scroll down, it's further down the page, but it's a 5-step process. You'll see that's our proven process. And we'll use that when we have sales conversations. So for somebody that's offering a service, I think it's really important to have a process that you can communicate to people in that when you start to have sales conversations. Because what that does is it helps alleviate fear and concerns people have, and it lets them know that you don't fly by the seat of your pants. You have a process that you follow, and you follow that because you know it gets results. So those are a few quick recommendations that I'd recommend you consider. Jason asks, how are your services delivered? Yeah, hourly fee, project based. So yes, with the exception of hourly. So we don't typically do hourly fees. Our services are a combination of done for you and done with you. With done with you is more coaching. So coaching is done more on a monthly basis. We do have some set coaching packages as well, depending on what you want to try to accomplish. But with that, with coaching, we're giving you the outside eyes, we're giving you the feedback, some of the tools, you're doing the work, and then we give you that feedback to help you get to where you want to be. With done for you work, it's exactly like it's described. We have project-based done for you work, which is some of those fundamentals work. If you need help creating your marketing message, if you need help honing in on your target market, if you need help with a plan, those are project-based with set fees. And then if you need help from an implementation standpoint, that's where we get involved in done for you work that's more on a monthly basis. And the pricing on that is really going to vary depending on what we're doing for you. So some people, we just put a website together for them and they're paying us monthly to manage it and host it. And that's, $60+ a month. There are other people that we're doing much more comprehensive marketing services for, where we're managing a lot of the different channels. And that can be, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. It just varies, but we have levels of service to meet you based on where you're at. So I hope that helps. If you do have further questions on that, Jason, feel free to schedule a consult with me and we can dig into that in more detail based on your specific situation. I'll be happy to talk to you about that. Okay. Other than that, we're at about 10:59. I want to make sure I'm respectful of your guys' time. If you've got other questions, feel free to schedule a consult. We are doing these types of workshops every month. I am transitioning. I'm not going to do AMAs as consistently as we have been in the first quarter. I'm going to focus more on 2 set topic workshops each and every month. So keep an eye out for those. But I will probably pop in Ask Me Anything sessions throughout the quarters. I'm just not going to plan them as consistently as we have, because I think a lot more people are responding to our set topic workshops than they are Ask Me Anything sessions. But keep an eye out for what we've got going on, because we are doing everything that we can from a content perspective to help you and help you push through those marketing roadblocks that you have. So we're doing workshops. We've got content on our website, podcast, blog. We're very active on social. So use the resources that we have to help you. And if you get to the point where you want to speak to us because you need our help, I'd be happy to talk to you and see what we might be able to do to help. So thanks so much for taking the time. I hope you guys got a ton of value from this call, and have a great rest of the week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Obviously, as a Fitzpatrick, I'm Irish, so corned beef and cabbage are in my future. So take care, guys. Have a great rest of the week.